My own son stole $500,000 in my name for his wife's dream vacation. I'm Ryder Brennan, and I've been quietly watching my family destroy themselves for months. Connell thought I was just some broke garage owner he could manipulate. His wife Savannah posted Instagram stories calling me trailer trash. They had no idea what was coming. When that bank alert hit my phone at 6:47 a.m. on March 15th, showing a $500,000 loan approval I never applied for, most fathers would have exploded. Most would have called the police immediately. But I'm not most fathers, so I sat back, let them enjoy every dollar, and waited for the perfect moment to show them exactly who they were stealing from. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't getting mad. It's staying calm while your enemies dig their own graves deeper with every shovelful. If you're watching this, please subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. This is the story of how I taught my son that respect isn't something you inherit. For 12 years, I've looked like a failure to my family, and I let them think that. My ex-wife, Amanda, left me in 2012 when Connell was 16. She said I was emotionally unavailable and stuck in a dead-end business. She moved in with her yoga instructor 3 weeks later. Connell blamed me completely. In his mind, I drove away the only parent who really cared about his future. Since then, I've owned Brennan Auto Parts on the south side of Phoenix. 3,500 square feet of organized chaos. Oil stains on concrete floors. Fluorescent lights that flicker. The kind of place where blue-collar guys buy replacement parts for trucks they can't afford to replace. To Connell and Savannah, this shop represented everything wrong with my life. "Dad, you live like you're still in 1985, Connell told me last Christmas. Mom moved on. Maybe you should too. Savannah was worse. She'd walk through my shop, wearing designer heels, holding her nose. "How do you stand the smell?" she'd ask Connell, loud enough for me to hear. My dad would never work somewhere this depressing. 2 months ago, she posted an Instagram story showing my shop from outside. The caption read, "When your father-in-law thinks this counts as owning a business." Poor Connell inherited the cheapskate gene. 63 people liked that post, including my ex-wife. Connell would call every few months, usually when he needed something. "Hey Dad, can you spot me $500 for rent?" Or, "Savannah's car needs new tires. Think you could help us out?" I always helped, every time. Because here's what they didn't know about my failing business. Brennan Auto Parts was never meant to make money. It was my front office, my meet and greet location, the place where I could stay connected to the automotive world without drawing attention to what I really owned. But they saw a sad old man counting quarters from a cash register. Savannah would tell her friends, "Connell's dad lives paycheck to paycheck. We basically support him emotionally because he never got over the divorce." She'd say this at dinner parties, in restaurants, anywhere people could hear, making sure everyone knew that she'd married into disappointment. Connell would nod along. "Dad works 16-hour days and can barely afford his rent. It's actually pretty pathetic." What really hurt wasn't the mockery. It was the pity. Last month, Connell brought Savannah to Sunday dinner at my apartment above the shop. She spent the entire meal photographing my furniture for her Instagram story. "Vintage poverty chic," she captioned a picture of my 20-year-old couch. "Dad, you know we love you," Connell said after dessert. "But maybe it's time to think about selling the shop. You're almost 60. Don't you want to retire with some dignity?" Savannah jumped in. "Connell's just worried about your future. We both are. You shouldn't have to work this hard just to survive." They were offering me pity. From my own son. That night, after they left, I sat in my office above the shop and opened my laptop. My real laptop. The one connected to Southwest Auto Group's corporate servers. 9 automotive businesses across Arizona. 4 tire and wheel distributorships. 2 specialty parts warehouses. 1 restoration facility for classic cars. Total annual revenue, $4.3 million. Personal net worth, exactly what I'd built it to be. All of it invisible to a son who thought I was too simple to understand modern success. But they were about to learn something important about underestimating quiet people. Sometimes we're not quiet because we're weak. Sometimes we're quiet because we're waiting. The $500,000 loan they took in my name wasn't just theft. It was a ticking bomb under everything I'd built. That morning when my phone buzzed with the bank alert, I stared at the notification for a full minute. Loan approved, $500,000. First Arizona Credit Union. Application submitted, 11:47 p.m. I was asleep at 11:47 p.m. in my apartment, alone. But someone using my social security number, my financial information, and a forged copy of my signature had convinced the bank I wanted $500,000 at 7.2% interest. I called Elena Rodriguez at First Arizona immediately. "Mr. Brennan, congratulations on your loan approval," she said. "Your son was very persuasive about your expansion plans. The business income documentation he provided was impressive." My blood went cold. "What business income documentation?" "The financial statements for Southwest Auto Group. Your son explained you were the silent owner and needed capital for a new location. Everything checked out." Connell had somehow gotten access to my corporate financials, information I'd never shared with anyone except my attorney, Patrick Sullivan. This wasn't just identity theft anymore. This was corporate espionage by my own family. "Elena, I need to see exactly what documents were submitted." "Of course. I'll email everything over within the hour." When those emails arrived, I understood the scope of their betrayal. Connell had submitted 3 years of Southwest Auto Group financial statements, bank records showing my personal assets, corporate structure documents from Patrick's office, even photos of my automotive facilities taken from public county assessment records. He'd done his homework. This wasn't some impulsive decision. This was a calculated heist. But the real damage went beyond money. That loan tied my name to a debt I couldn't control. If Connell defaulted, and based on his $28,000 credit card debt, default was likely, my business credit would crater. Southwest Auto Group's vendor relationships depended on clean credit. I had standing orders with tire manufacturers worth $300,000 monthly, parts suppliers who extended 90-day payment terms, equipment leases tied to my personal guarantee. One missed loan payment would trigger review clauses in 12 major contracts. My entire business network could collapse because my son wanted to fund his wife's European vacation. But there was something worse than financial risk. That evening, I drove past Connell's condo in Scottsdale. His living room lights were on. Through the window, I could see them packing suitcases, laughing, celebrating. Savannah was holding what looked like luxury shopping bags. Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Hermes. They weren't just stealing my money, they were celebrating with it. My phone rang. Connell. "Hey Dad, just wanted to let you know Savannah and I are taking a little European trip. 3 weeks, nothing too crazy." "Where in Europe?" "Oh, you know, Paris, Rome, Barcelona, the usual tourist stuff. We saved up for months." He was lying to my face while standing in a living room full of purchases made with stolen money. "That sounds expensive, Connell." "Well, yeah, but we work hard. We deserve some happiness, right? Not everyone wants to spend their entire life fixing old car parts." The insult was deliberate, calculated. He was telling me that my life's work meant nothing compared to their happiness. "Have fun," I said, and hung up. That night, I made a decision that would change everything. I wasn't going to stop them. I wasn't going to call the police yet. I wasn't even going to cancel the loan. I was going to let them take that vacation. Let them spend every dollar. Let them post every Instagram photo and restaurant check-in and luxury hotel review. Because when they came back, tanned and relaxed and proud of their perfect crime, I was going to show them exactly who they'd stolen from. And it was going to destroy their world. 3 days before their flight to Paris, I decided to give them one chance to tell me the truth. I drove to Connell's condo Thursday evening around 6 p.m. His pharmaceutical sales job ended at 5, so I knew he'd be home. Savannah's Mercedes was in the visitor parking. My son's Audi sat in his assigned spot. Both cars looked freshly detailed. I knocked 3 times. Connell answered wearing a Tommy Bahama shirt I'd never seen before. Bright blue with palm trees. Probably cost more than I paid for clothes in 6 months. "Dad, what are you doing here?" "Wanted to talk about your vacation. Can I come in?" He hesitated. "Actually, we're in the middle of packing. Maybe we could grab dinner next week when we get back?" Through the doorway, I could see their living room. New luggage everywhere, Prada bags, Gucci suitcases, a stack of shopping boxes on the dining table. "Won't take long," I said, stepping past him into the apartment. Savannah emerged from the bedroom carrying an armful of designer clothes, tags still attached. "Oh, hi, Mr. Brennan." Her voice was cold, professional, like she was greeting a door-to-door salesman. "Savannah, nice trip you're planning." "We've been saving for years," she said, not making eye contact. I pulled out my phone, showed them the bank alert. "Got an interesting notification this morning." Connell's face didn't change, but his shoulders tensed. "What's that?" he asked. $500,000 loan approval, in my name. Applied for Tuesday night while I was sleeping." Silence. Savannah set down her clothes and crossed her arms. "Dad, I have no idea what you're talking about." "Really? 'Cause the bank says you provided my financial documents, Southwest Auto Group statements, personal asset verification, even photos of my facilities." Connell sat down hard in his leather recliner. "Dad, you're being dramatic." "Am I? Walk me through how someone got access to documents I've never shared." "Maybe you forgot," Savannah said. "Don't elderly people have memory problems?" The insult hung in the air like cigarette smoke. "I'm 59, Savannah, not 90. "Look," Connell stood up, hands raised. "Maybe there's some confusion, but we'll pay you back eventually. This trip is important for our relationship." "Eventually?" "Yeah. Savannah got promoted to regional manager. We'll have more income next year." I stared at my son. He was doubling down, lying while holding stolen goods. "Connell, that money isn't mine to lend. It's secured against business assets." "Dad, you're overreacting," Savannah said. "It's just paper. Money moves around. You'll figure it out." "Just paper? You think 500,000 is just paper?" "Honestly?" Savannah moved closer, her voice dropping. "Yes. You've been poor so long you don't understand how real money works. This is an investment in our future. Your future. Connell's future. Our family's future. Something bigger than counting quarters in a garage." I looked at Connell, my son, the boy I'd raised alone for 6 years after his mother left. "Is that how you see it, Connell? Investment in your future? Dad, we'll work something out. But maybe if you weren't so cheap about everything, we wouldn't need to borrow money for basic happiness." Basic happiness. A $500,000 European vacation was basic happiness. "And if I can't make the loan payments?" "You'll figure it out," Connell said. "You always do. That's what dads are for, right?" "That's what dads are for." I walked to their dining table, picked up one of the shopping receipts. Hermes, $4,000. Yesterday's date. "When did you buy this?" "That's not your business," Savannah said. "It is when it's purchased with money stolen in my name." "Stolen?" Connell stood up fast. "Dad, you're being crazy. Families help each other. This isn't stealing. What would you call taking someone's identity to get a loan they didn't apply for?" "I'd call it getting creative about family resources." Creative about family resources? I set the receipt down carefully, pulled out my phone, started recording. "What are you doing?" Savannah stepped forward. "Creating a record of this conversation." "Dad, turn that off." "Connell, I'm giving you one opportunity. Tell me the truth about how you accessed my financial information. Admit you forged my signature, and we'll work out a repayment plan." "Or what?" "Or I treat this like what it is: identity theft, corporate fraud, criminal activity." Savannah laughed, actually laughed. "Mr. Brennan, you're not going to call the police on your own son over money. What would people think? What would your ex-wife say?" She was using my divorce against me, my family's shame as leverage. "Dad, Savannah's right. You love me too much to destroy my life over this. We both know that." They were counting on my love, banking on my weakness. I stopped recording, put my phone away. "You're right, Connell. I do love you too much." Relief flooded his face. "Good, so but I love you too much to let you become thieves." I walked to the door, turned back. "Enjoy Paris." The next morning I went to work early, but I wasn't alone in my shop. At 7:15 a.m. my phone rang. Unknown Arizona number. "Brennan Auto Parts." "Mr. Brennan, this is Marcus from Desert Tire Supply. We've got your monthly order ready for pickup. 436 truck tires, payment on delivery, as usual. 436 tires. Connell and Savannah thought I sold fan belts and air fresheners to weekend mechanics. Schedule it for Monday, I said. Dock 7 at the warehouse. Copy that, sir. Same time, same place. I hung up and walked through my shop. Really looked at it through a stranger's eyes. The equipment here wasn't typical auto parts store gear. In the back corner sat a Hunter alignment machine worth $45,000. Near the office door, a snap-on diagnostic computer system that cost more than most people's cars. 3 hydraulic lifts rated for commercial vehicles. This wasn't small-time operation equipment. At 8:30, another call. Mr. Brennan, this is Sarah from Phoenix Commercial Insurance. Your annual policy review is coming up. Do you want to schedule a site visit for all 9 locations? 9 locations. Send the proposals by email. I'll review them Monday. Perfect. And congratulations on the Tucson expansion. Your restoration facility is really impressive. After she hung up, I opened my laptop. Not the old Dell I kept on my shop counter for customer receipts. My real laptop, the one connected to Southwest Auto Group's corporate network. The screen filled with data. Real-time sales figures from 8 automotive businesses. Parts distribution centers in Phoenix, Tucson, and Flagstaff. Specialty wheel shops in Scottsdale and Tempe. A classic car restoration facility that charged $50,000 per project. Yesterday's gross revenue, $47,000. Connell thought I barely made rent. At 10 a.m., my shop door chimed. A man in a business suit walked in. Mr. Brennan, I'm James from Valley Fleet Management. We spoke about the tire contract for our delivery trucks. Valley Fleet managed 300 commercial vehicles. Their annual tire budget was $600,000. Of course, let's discuss terms. We spent an hour negotiating pricing for wholesale tire deliveries. James needed competitive rates for quantity purchases. I needed reliable payment schedules for inventory management, standard business, routine negotiations. But if Connell had walked in during that meeting, he would have heard me discussing contract terms worth more than he'd earned in 15 years. After James left, I called Patrick Sullivan. Patrick, it's Ryder. I need you to prepare some documents. Sure, what kind of documents? Asset protection structures, trust formations, and criminal referral paperwork for identity theft. Silence on the phone. Ryder, what's happening? My son stole $500,000 using my business information. I want legal options prepared before I decide how to respond. Jesus, are you sure? I have bank records, forged signatures, recorded conversations. I'm sure. I'll have preliminary documents ready by Friday. But Ryder, family law gets complicated when criminal elements are involved. I understand. That afternoon, Elena Rodriguez called from First Arizona Credit Union. Mr. Brennan, I wanted to confirm your son's European account transfer. $500,000 minus fees. Saw it. The funds were wired to Credit Suisse in Geneva this morning. Geneva. They'd moved the money offshore. This wasn't vacation funding anymore. This was money laundering. Elena, I need copies of all wire transfer documentation. Of course. Is there a problem? Not yet, but there might be. Around 4 p.m., while I was reviewing inventory reports, my shop door chimed again. This time, a woman in her 30s wearing a business suit. Are you Ryder Brennan? I am. I'm Detective Lisa Martinez, Phoenix Police Financial Crimes Unit. I understand you might need to file a report about identity theft. I hadn't called the police yet, but Elena Rodriguez had. Banks are required to report suspicious activity. Large cash transfers to offshore accounts trigger automatic investigations. Detective, come to my office. We need to talk. As we walked toward the back of my shop, past the expensive equipment and commercial-grade tools, Detective Martinez looked around with interest. This is some operation you have here, she said. A lot of high-end equipment for a parts store. Yeah, I said, it is. I didn't explain that this was just the tip of the iceberg, but I was about to. Friday evening, Connell texted me from Charles de Gaulle Airport. Made it to Paris, amazing flight, first class all the way. Thanks for understanding about the loan situation, Dad. Love you. Attached was a photo of Savannah holding champagne in what looked like an airplane cabin with seats wider than my couch. First class to Paris, on stolen money. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part came Tuesday, when Connell's employer, Valley Pharmaceuticals, hosted their quarterly company party at the Scottsdale Resort. Danny Kowalski, the district manager, had invited family members for an evening of networking and celebration. I knew about this party because Valley Pharmaceuticals was one of my customers, not for auto parts, obviously, for their fleet of company vehicles, 73 cars and trucks that needed regular maintenance through my commercial accounts. But Connell didn't know that. I arrived at the resort around 7 p.m. wearing my best khakis and a polo shirt. Nothing fancy, just a shop owner visiting his son's workplace. The party was in the main ballroom, 120 people. Pharmaceutical sales reps, their spouses, management, and family guests. I found Connell and Savannah near the bar. They looked incredible. Connell wore a designer suit I'd never seen. Savannah sparkled in what had to be a $3,000 dress. "Dad?" Connell's face went pale. "What are you doing here?" "Came to see where my successful son works. Hope that's okay." Savannah stepped closer to Connell, like she was protecting him from embarrassment. "Mr. Brennan, this is a company event, for employees and their families." "Connell's my family." "Yes, but you might feel out of place. These are pharmaceutical executives." She said pharmaceutical executives like it was a different species, a higher life form. "I'll be fine, Savannah." We stood there for an awkward minute. Connell kept looking around, probably hoping no one noticed his simple father in cheap clothes. Then Danny Kowalski approached our group. "Connell, great to see you, and this must be Savannah." Danny shook hands with both of them. "Congratulations on the European trip. Switzerland, right? Connell's been posting amazing photos on Instagram." Switzerland, not just Paris anymore. "And you must be Connell's father." Danny extended his hand to me. "I'm Danny Kowalski, district manager." "Ryder Brennan, nice to meet you." "Brennan?" Danny's eyes narrowed slightly. "That name sounds familiar." Connell jumped in quickly. "Dad owns a small auto parts store. Nothing you'd know." "Brennan Auto Parts?" Danny asked. "That's right," I said. "On South 27th Avenue?" "Yeah." Danny's face changed. "Wait, are you Ryder Brennan from Southwest Auto Group?" The ballroom conversation around us continued, but our small circle went dead quiet. "I might be," I said. "Holy shit, you're the Southwest Auto Group Ryder Brennan." Connell's face drained of color. "What's Southwest Auto Group?" Danny turned to him, incredulous. "Your father owns the largest automotive parts distribution network in Arizona. Valley Pharma has been using his services for 3 years. He supplies tires and maintenance for our entire fleet." Silence. Savannah's champagne glass trembled in her hand. "That's impossible," she said. "He owns a tiny garage." Danny laughed. "Tiny garage? Ryder, didn't you just open that classic car restoration facility in Tucson? The one that charges $50,000 per project?" "Something like that," I said quietly. More people were gathering around us now, company executives drawn by Danny's excited voice. "Connell, you never mentioned your father was Ryder Brennan," said a woman I recognized as the regional VP. "Southwest Auto Group is legendary. We use them for all our commercial vehicle needs." Connell looked like he was going to vomit. "I don't understand," he said. "Dad, you live above a shop. You work 16 hours a day for nothing." "Do I?" Savannah stepped forward, her voice rising. "This is ridiculous. Connell's father is barely middle class. He can't afford basic necessities." The regional VP looked confused. "Middle class? Southwest Auto Group has revenues in the millions. Ryder, what's your net worth these days? 4 million? 5? The number hit the group like a physical blow. 4.3, I said, give or take. Savannah's champagne glass slipped from her hand and shattered on the marble floor. "That's impossible," Connell whispered. "You're lying, all of you." Danny pulled out his phone. "Look, here's our vendor directory." He showed Connell the screen. Southwest Auto Group, primary automotive supplier, annual contract value $1.8 million. Connell stared at the phone like it was written in a foreign language. "Dad, this has to be a mistake." "Is it, Connell? You live in a one-bedroom apartment above a shop. I live simply. That doesn't mean I'm poor. Savannah suddenly exploded. You let us think you were broke. You let us feel sorry for you. Her voice carried across the ballroom. Other conversations stopped. People turned to stare. Why would I let you think that, Savannah? Because you're sick. You're a sick old man who gets off on making people pity you. Or, I said calmly, maybe I wanted to see how my family treated someone they thought had nothing. The words landed like a slap. Connell grabbed my arm. Dad, we need to talk privately. I think we're past private conversations, Connell. What's that supposed to mean? It means I know about the $500,000 you stole. I know about the forged signatures. I know about the Swiss bank accounts. The crowd around us gasped. Danny stepped forward. Ryder, are you saying there's been fraud? I'm saying my son used my financial information to secure a loan I didn't authorize, then wired the money offshore for vacation funding. Savannah's face went from red to white. You can't prove anything. I pulled out my phone, showed them the bank alert. Actually, I can prove everything. The ballroom went completely silent, except for the sound of ice clinking in glasses. Danny Kowalski stared at my phone screen, showing the loan notification. His face cycled through confusion, recognition, and finally horror. Connell, he said slowly, please tell me you didn't commit identity theft against one of our most important business partners. Connell opened his mouth, but no words came out. Because if you did, Danny continued, that's not just a family problem. That's a criminal problem that reflects on this entire company. Savannah recovered first. This is insane. Mr. Brennan is obviously having some kind of breakdown, making up stories about being rich to get attention. Ma'am, the regional VP stepped forward. I personally sign Ryder's vendor checks every month. His company provides automotive services for over 200 local businesses. This isn't a story. Danny pulled out his business phone, started scrolling through vendor contacts. Here, he showed the screen to Connell. Southwest Auto Group, primary contact, Ryder Brennan. Last payment, $37,000 for February fleet maintenance. Connell's voice cracked. $37,000? Monthly, Danny said. Every month. For 3 years. I watched my son process this information. His entire worldview was collapsing in real time. Dad, if you have all this money, why do you live like you're poor? Because I wanted to know who you really were, Connell. What does that mean? It means I spent 12 years watching how you treated someone you thought was struggling, someone you believed had nothing to offer except love and support. The crowd pressed closer. This wasn't a family conversation anymore. It was public theater. And what did I learn? I continued. I learned that my son sees struggling people as burdens. I learned that he married a woman who thinks poverty is a character flaw. I learned that both of you believe money determines worth. Savannah stepped forward, desperate. That's not true. We love you. Do you? Or do you love the idea of inheriting from me? We never said anything about inheritance. Savannah, you posted on Instagram last month that Connell was stuck supporting his deadbeat father until the old man finally dies and leaves us something useful. Gasps from the crowd. I screenshot everything, I added. Connell grabbed my arm. Dad, please. Can we go somewhere private and work this out? Why? So you can explain how stealing $500,000 was actually helping me? Danny looked like he was in physical pain. Connell, I need to understand something. You knew your father had significant wealth, right? You had to know. No, I swear I didn't know. He lives above a garage. He drives a 15-year-old truck. He shops at thrift stores. Because I choose to, I said. Living simply isn't the same as being poor, but you never bothered to learn the difference. The regional VP pulled Danny aside. I could hear fragments of their whispered conversation. Liability, background check, corporate reputation. Savannah suddenly turned aggressive. Fine, so you're rich. Congratulations. But that doesn't give you the right to trick your own family. Trick you how? By pretending to be poor when you could afford to help us. I did help you, Savannah. Every time you needed rent money. Every time Connell's car broke down. Every time you had a financial emergency. That's not help. That's scraps. If you really loved your son, you would have supported his lifestyle. The crowd murmured. This was getting ugly. Supported what lifestyle? A lifestyle that matches his potential. Connell deserves better than watching his father count quarters in a dirty shop. And what does Connell deserve exactly? He deserves a father who's successful enough to be proud of. The words echoed across the ballroom. I looked at my son. Is that how you feel, Connell? Are you ashamed of me? Connell's eyes filled with tears. Dad, no, I wanted you to be happy. I wanted you to have nice things. I am happy, Connell. I have everything I need. But you could have so much more. More what? Bigger apartment? Newer truck? Expensive clothes? Yes. And then what? Would you respect me more? Would Savannah stop posting cruel things about me online? Would you visit me because you wanted to, not because you needed money? Connell had no answer. Danny stepped back into our circle. Ryder, I'm sorry, but I have to ask. Are you planning to press charges? Before I could answer, Savannah exploded again. Press charges? For what? Taking care of his son? Maybe if Ryder had been a real father, Connell wouldn't need to be creative about finances. Creative? The regional VP looked stunned. You call identity theft creative? I call survival creative. Do you know what it's like having a father who's too cheap to support his family's dreams? What dreams? I asked. Normal dreams. A nice house, decent cars, vacations that don't involve camping, the basic lifestyle that successful families enjoy. And you thought I owed you that lifestyle? Yes, parents are supposed to help their children succeed, not hold them back with poverty mindset. Danny looked at Connell. Is this really how you both feel? Connell couldn't make eye contact. Dad, we thought... You thought I was weak, I finished. You thought I was a failure. You thought you could take whatever you wanted because I was too pathetic to stop you. That's not... Connell started, then stopped. Because it was true. And everyone in that ballroom knew it. The regional VP stepped forward. Ryder, I think we need to discuss this privately. This situation affects our business relationship. Of course it does, I said. My son committed fraud against a company vendor. That's grounds for immediate termination. Connell's face went gray. Dad, please don't do this. I'm not doing anything, Connell. You did this. When you forged my signature, when you stole my business information, when you gambled with my reputation. We can fix this, Savannah pleaded. We'll pay back every dollar. With what money? Connell makes $85,000 a year. The loan payment alone is $12,000 monthly. Silence. Unless, I continued, you were counting on me to make those payments, like I've made every payment for everything else in your lives. More silence. Danny looked exhausted. Connell, I'm going to need you in my office first thing Monday morning. We'll discuss your employment status then. Connell nodded numbly. And Ryder, Danny continued, I want you to know that Valley Pharmaceuticals takes vendor relationships seriously. What happened here tonight won't affect our business partnership. I appreciate that, Danny. As the crowd began to disperse, I looked at Connell one last time. Son, I loved you enough to sacrifice everything. You loved me enough to steal everything. The difference between those two statements is the difference between us. I walked toward the exit. Behind me, I could hear Savannah crying, but I didn't look back. Monday morning at 8 a.m., I called Patrick Sullivan. Patrick, it's time to execute everything we discussed. Are you sure, Ryder? Once we start this process, it's hard to reverse. I'm sure. By 10 a.m., I was sitting in Detective Martinez's office with a stack of documents 3 inches thick. Mr. Brennan, this is extensive evidence, she said, flipping through bank records, wire transfer receipts, and recorded conversations. Identity theft, forgery, wire fraud across state lines. These are serious federal crimes. I understand. Your son could face 5 to 10 years in federal prison. I sat quietly for a moment. Detective, what would happen if I did nothing? Legally, the bank fraud has already been reported. This investigation will proceed with or without your cooperation. And practically? Practically, your son will probably flee the country. He's already moved money offshore. He has access to European banking systems. If he doesn't return from Switzerland, we may never extradite him. Connell wasn't coming home. He was planning to disappear with the money. Detective, I want to file formal charges. All of them? All of them. By noon, Patrick had contacted First Arizona Credit Union. As the fraud victim, I was demanding immediate loan cancellation and full restitution. The bank's insurance would cover their losses, but they'd pursue civil recovery against Connell and Savannah. At 1 p.m., I called Danny Kowalski. Danny, it's Ryder Brennan. I wanted to give you a professional heads up about our conversation Friday night. Ryder, I'm glad you called. Connell never showed up for work this morning. That's part of what I need to discuss. Connell is currently under federal investigation for identity theft and wire fraud. I thought you should know it before it becomes public. Silence on the phone. Jesus, Ryder, how bad is it? $500,000 in documented fraud. Wire transfers to offshore accounts. He's facing federal charges. And he's in Europe? Switzerland, with the stolen money. Is he coming back? Unknown, but I'd recommend terminating his employment immediately. You don't want Valley Pharmaceuticals associated with an international fugitive. Consider it done. Ryder, I'm sorry this happened, both personally and professionally. I appreciate that, Danny. At 3 p.m., Elena Rodriguez called from First Arizona Credit Union. Mr. Brennan, we've frozen all accounts associated with the fraudulent loan. We're also reporting the wire transfers to FinCEN for investigation. What does that mean practically? It means every dollar your son spent in Europe has been flagged. Hotels, restaurants, shopping, everything. European banks are required to cooperate with U.S. financial crime investigations. Will they freeze his accounts overseas? Already done. Credit Suisse froze the Swiss account this morning. Your son currently has access to whatever cash he's carrying, nothing else. By 4 p.m., I'd received a panicked call from Connell. Dad, what did you do? Our credit card stopped working. The hotel wants us to leave. Connell, where are you? Geneva. The police came to our hotel room this morning with paperwork. They said our accounts are frozen pending fraud investigation. Are you surprised? Dad, please fix this. We're stuck here with no money. You have money, Connell. Whatever cash you withdrew before the accounts froze. That's only about $3,000. Then you better make it last. Dad, we can't get home with $3,000. That sounds like a problem you created. Please, Savannah is freaking out. She's calling her parents, but they can't afford international wire transfers for this amount. Connell, let me explain something. You committed federal crimes. The FBI is involved. Interpol's involved. This isn't a family dispute anymore. What does that mean? It means if you try to flee to another country, you'll be arrested as an international fugitive. If you stay in Switzerland, you'll be extradited. If you come home voluntarily, you'll be arrested at the airport. You're destroying my life. I'm not destroying anything. I'm documenting what you already destroyed. Silence. Dad, what do you want? Money? Apologies? What? I want you to understand consequences, Connell, for the first time in your life. This is insane. You're ruining everything over money. Over trust, Connell. Over respect. Over the fact that you saw your father as a mark to con. We never meant it like that. How did you mean it? We thought you owed us help. Owed you? Yes, parents are supposed to support their children's dreams. By committing fraud? By being generous, by understanding that family comes first. I hung up. At 6 p.m., Savannah called from a different number. Mr. Brennan, this is insane. We're stranded in a foreign country because you're having a tantrum. Savannah, you're stranded in a foreign country because you committed crimes. We borrowed money from family. That's not criminal. Forging signatures is criminal. Identity theft is criminal. Wire fraud is criminal. Fine, we'll pay it back. With what money? Connell will get another job. Connell's employment history now includes termination for fraud. His background checks will show federal criminal investigation. Who's going to hire him? Silence. Mr. Brennan, please. We made a mistake. A stupid mistake. Savannah, taking the wrong exit on a highway is a mistake. This was a deliberate plan to steal money you thought I couldn't afford to lose. We thought you'd understand. I understand perfectly. You thought I was weak. No. You thought I was powerless. You thought I was desperate for your approval. You thought I'd pay any price to stay in your lives. Isn't that what fathers do? Good fathers teach consequences, Savannah. They don't enable theft. By 8 p.m., Patrick called with an update. Ryder, the federal prosecutor wants to discuss plea agreements. If Connell returns voluntarily and cooperates fully, they might reduce charges. What kind of cooperation? Asset recovery, financial disclosure, victim impact statements. And if he doesn't return? International warrant, extradition proceedings, much harsher sentencing guidelines. Patrick, what do you recommend? As your attorney, let the justice system work. As your friend, consider what you really want from this situation. I knew what I wanted. I wanted my son to come home and face the consequences of his choices like an adult. But I also knew that might destroy him completely. The question was, which outcome would actually teach him respect? Connell and Savannah returned to Phoenix on Thursday afternoon, escorted by U.S. Marshals at Sky Harbor Airport. I wasn't there to meet them, but Patrick called with updates throughout the day. They were arrested the moment they deplaned, he said. Processed through federal holding. Bond hearing is set for tomorrow morning. What are the charges? Identity theft, wire fraud, money laundering. Connell's looking at 8 to 12 years if convicted on all counts. Savannah's facing 3 to 5 as an accessory. An asset recovery? They spent approximately $420,000. The remaining $80,000 is in cash, frozen accounts, and luxury goods subject to seizure. That evening, my ex-wife, Amanda, called. First time we'd spoken in 3 years. Ryder, what the hell is happening? Connell called me from jail, crying about federal charges. Amanda, our son committed serious crimes. Over what? Money? You've got millions and you're sending your own child to prison? I'm not sending anyone anywhere. The justice system is holding him accountable for choices he made. Choices? He's your son. Family helps family. Family doesn't steal from family, Amanda. Oh, please. Like you never made mistakes when you were young. I never committed federal crimes. Because you were too scared to take risks. Connell has ambition. Dreams. He married a beautiful woman who deserves nice things. And he decided to steal those nice things from me. Because you were too cheap to help voluntarily. I was quiet for a long moment. Amanda, do you know why I lived simply all these years? Because you're damaged and can't move on from our divorce. Because I wanted to know who my family really was. What kind of people they'd become when they thought I had nothing to offer except emotional support. That's sick, Ryder. Is it? Look what I learned. Our son became someone who steals from people he sees as weak. He married someone who thinks poverty is a character flaw. They both developed a sense of entitlement to money they never earned. You let them think you were poor? I never lied about anything. I just didn't advertise my success. The same way I never advertised my failures when we were married. Amanda was quiet. Ryder, what do you want from this? Revenge? I want Connell to understand that actions have consequences. For 30 years, every mistake he made was solved by someone else. Every bad decision was cushioned by family money or influence. He never learned accountability. So you're teaching him accountability by destroying his life? I'm letting him experience the natural consequences of his choices for the first time. And if those consequences include prison, then maybe prison will teach him what freedom is really worth. Friday morning, Connell's bond hearing proceeded without me. Patrick attended as an observer. Judge set bond at $500,000, he reported. Connell doesn't have assets to cover it. He'll remain in federal custody pending trial. And what about Savannah? Her parents posted bond, $50,000. She's out but can't leave Arizona. In plea negotiations? Federal prosecutor offered Connell a deal. Plead guilty to identity theft and money laundering. Serve 18 months federal prison. Make full restitution. And if he refuses? Trial. If convicted on all charges, 8 to 12 years. What's he thinking? He wants to see you. That afternoon, I drove to the federal detention center in downtown Phoenix, sat across from my son in an orange jumpsuit through reinforced glass. Connell looked like he'd aged 5 years and 3 days. Dad, thank you for coming. How are you holding up? Terrible. This place it's not what I expected. What did you expect? I don't know, not this. The food is awful. The noise never stops. Everyone here is a criminal. You are a criminal, Connell. He flinched. Dad, please. I made mistakes. But I'm not like these people. What makes you different? I'm educated. I had a career. I'm from a good family. A good family that raised someone who commits fraud? That's not fair. Connell, what do you think happens to people who steal money? Normal people don't steal $500,000. Normal people also don't have access to steal $500,000. You had opportunities that most criminals never get. You chose to abuse those opportunities. I chose to help my family by committing crimes against your family. We sat in silence for a minute. Dad, the prosecutor offered a plea deal, 18 months. I know. Will you write a letter to the judge? Character reference? What would I say? That I'm a good person who made bad choices, that I deserve a second chance. Do you? Yes, of course I do. Why? Connell struggled with the question. Because I'm your son. Because I've learned my lesson. What lesson have you learned? That stealing is wrong. Connell, you knew stealing was wrong when you forged my signature. What lesson have you actually learned? I don't know what you want me to say. I want you to say what you've learned about respect, about consequences, about treating people with dignity, regardless of their financial status. Dad, I always treated you with respect. Did you? When Savannah called me trailer trash on social media, what did you say? I didn't know she was doing that. You liked her post, Connell. I have screenshots. I wasn't thinking. When she said my shop smelled terrible and wondered how I stood, working somewhere so depressing, what did you say? I don't remember. You said, Dad's always been weird about money. Poor people get attached to weird things. Connell's face crumpled. I recorded that conversation too, I added. Dad, I didn't mean it. Yes, you did. You meant every word, because that's how you really see struggling people. As weird, as lesser, as deserving of pity instead of respect. That's not true. Connell, prove it's not true. Show me you've learned something besides don't get caught. How? Accept responsibility, serve your sentence, make restitution, rebuild your character from the ground up. And then what? Then maybe we can have a relationship based on who you really are, instead of who you pretend to be. Connell was crying now. Dad, will you visit me in prison? Do you want me to visit you because you love me or because you need something from me? Because I love you. Connell, I'll believe that when you show me respect without needing money from me, when you treat struggling people with dignity, when you understand that character matters more than status. How long will that take? However long it takes. I stood to leave. Dad? Yeah? I'm sorry. Really sorry. I know you are, son. Now you get to prove it. I walked out of the federal detention center and drove home to my apartment above the shop. That evening, I opened my laptop and reviewed my financial portfolios. $4.3 million in assets, 9 successful businesses, a reputation built over 30 years. All of it meaningless if I'd raised a son who saw weakness as something to exploit. But maybe, in 18 months, Connell would emerge from prison as someone who understood the difference between having money and being worth respect. Maybe not. Either way, I'd finally taught him that consequences are real, and that was the most expensive lesson I'd ever paid for. 6 months later, Connell called me from federal prison in Safford, Arizona. Dad, how are you? I'm good, Connell. How are you adjusting? Better than I expected. I'm working in the prison library, teaching literacy classes to other inmates. That's good work. Dad, I need to tell you something. I've been thinking about our last conversation, about respect and dignity and treating people right regardless of money. Okay? There's a guy here named Miguel. He's serving 2 years for check forgery. Never finished high school. But he's one of the smartest people I've ever met. Reads everything, knows history, philosophy, current events. Sounds like someone worth knowing. Yeah. And 6 months ago, I would have looked down on him. Would have thought he was just another criminal. But he's teaching me Spanish, helping me understand things about life I never considered. What kinds of things? Like how growing up poor doesn't make you stupid. How working with your hands doesn't make you less valuable. How someone's bank account doesn't determine their character. I was quiet for a moment. Connell, That sounds like growth. Dad, I want to apologize. Really apologize. Not because I want something from you, but because I finally understand what I did to you. Tell me what you understand. I understand that you spent 12 years being generous to a son who saw generosity as weakness. I understand that you worked hard your whole life just to watch your family mock that work. I understand that when you needed respect the most, after Mom left, when you were rebuilding your life, I gave you pity instead. Go on. And I understand that Savannah and I didn't just steal money. We stole your dignity. We made you feel ashamed of success you'd earned through decades of sacrifice. Connell, what else do you understand? I understand that real strength is quiet, that real wealth is character, and that real love means wanting the best for someone even when it costs you something. For the first time in years, I heard my son speaking like a man instead of a child. Dad, when I get out, I don't want anything from you except the chance to rebuild our relationship based on who I really am instead of what I think I'm entitled to. What does that look like practically? It looks like getting a job that pays my bills without family help. It looks like treating service workers and struggling people with respect. It looks like visiting you because I want to spend time with you, not because I need something. And Savannah? We're getting divorced. She can't understand why I'm choosing prison over family connections. She wants me to appeal the sentence, get lawyers involved, fight the system. What do you want? I want to serve my time, make restitution to you, learn skills that don't depend on family wealth, build character I can be proud of. Connell, that's the first conversation we've had in years that didn't involve you asking for something. I know, and it feels good. Different, but good. We talked for another 20 minutes about books he was reading, skills he was learning, plans he was making for when he was released. When we hung up, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Pride in my son. That evening, I called Patrick Sullivan. Patrick, I want to set up a restitution plan for Connell. What kind of plan? When he's released, I want him to have the opportunity to pay me back through work, real work, market wages, no family discounts. You want to hire him? I want to give him the chance to earn back my trust through actions instead of words. Ryder, that's generous. No, Patrick, that's boundaries. If Connell wants a relationship with me, he'll build it through respect and effort, not entitlement. 6 weeks later, I received a letter from Connell, handwritten. Dad, thank you for teaching me that love and accountability aren't opposites. They're the same thing. I'm learning every day what it means to be someone worth respecting. When I get out, I hope you'll give me the chance to show you who I've become instead of who I was. But if not, I understand. I'm grateful for the lesson, even if I had to learn it the hard way. I kept that letter, because for the first time since Connell was 16, I recognized my son in his words. The boy I'd raised to value character over comfort. The man I'd always hoped he could become. It took federal prison to teach him respect. But sometimes the most expensive lessons are the only ones that stick. If you've ever been underestimated by family who thought your quiet strength was weakness, let me know in the comments. Sometimes the people who know us longest see us least clearly, but character always reveals itself in the end, even if it takes a while.